There is plenty to unpack here with CNN's Julia Benbrook, who joins us now from California. And Julia, let's start with Donald Trump and that Supreme Court ruling. What are some of the key takeaways here?
Well, one thing off the top here that's really important about this ruling is the timing. It comes the day before Super Tuesday, and that's when voters in more than a dozen states across the country will head to the polls, including here in California, where people are participating in early voting as we speak, and then also in Colorado, which is the state impacted and that was the focus of the Supreme Court ruling. Now, the justices did decide that Trump should remain on the Colorado ballot, and they were unanimous in the idea that Trump could not be unilaterally removed from the ballot, but then they were split on some of the technicalities of how a ban could be enforced. This decision comes after months of discussion about whether or not the frontrunner violated the 14th Amendment insurrection clause. And this is a big win for Trump. He will remain on that ballot, which will have a ripple effect as well. But it's just one of many legal issues that he is facing. He faces 4 criminal cases and is preparing for those as well.
Definitely. Now, what about Trump's opponent, Nikki Haley? She's picked up a primary win in Washington, D.C., and she's always promised to support the eventual Republican nominee. But will that still be the case as we head into Super Tuesday, which is tomorrow?
Well, you bring up a couple of good points there. She did get that first primary win in Washington, D.C., but it's a relatively small group of delegates. So Trump has still had these decisive wins in early voting states and is the clear Republican frontrunner going into Super Tuesday. But Haley put out a statement after that D.C. win. She said it's not surprising that Republicans closest to Washington dysfunction are rejecting Donald Trump and all his chaos. So she's hoping to use that to hopefully make a dent at the polls tomorrow. Now, on her promise to support the eventual nominee, she signed a pledge when she took part in the GOP debates early on. And that was saying that no matter who won the Republican nomination, she was going to put their support behind them. But she gave an interview over the weekend where she was asked about this. And she said that she was going to make that decision as it comes, suggesting that she is not necessarily bound by that pledge.
Such an interesting climate in politics in the U.S. Now, more than 1/3 of the total delegates will be up for grabs on Super Tuesday. This must also be a very important day for President Joe Biden.
It is, and especially coming out of Michigan, where Democratic voters gave him some warning signs to look out for. There was a protest vote. He still won big. I do want to emphasize that. But there were over 100,000 voters who voted uncommitted in an attempt to send a message to the president. They were calling for a ceasefire in Gaza and wanted to make their voices heard. So this is a topic that Biden is going to look for more warning signs on Super Tuesday as well, how people are reacting to his handling of that war.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us, Julia. And that is CNN's Julia Benbrook.